Welcome to the Real Estate Players Podcast. My name is James Wilson. I'm a commercial lender with Old Capital.
And I'm Joe Pizzuro with Break Chain Capital. And today our guest is Alexia Tuttle with Tuttle Equity. Welcome, Alexia.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We are
Appreciate
excited to have you.
it. Are you nervous? I think you should be more nervous.
Uh,
Maybe.
Tell us what's going on in your world. First of all, for the viewers, those that don't know you, maybe give a little background of how you got into real estate and you know
Yeah.
your spiel, your quick spiel.
My spiel? Yeah, my spiel is tough. I'm like, yeah, three businesses on the board of a nonprofit, six dogs, no kids. What do you want to know? But no, seriously, I think it all started with bodybuilding, ironically. If I had to really go back to it. So I got into bodybuilding when I moved out of my house at like 17, and I was like, I need structure in my life. Um, and then, fitness, nutrition, that took off. So I've been self-employed for a while, right? So about 10 years now. And yeah, that's been my bread and butter. And then at one point I was looking at my husband and I'm like, I don't want to be a slave to my computer for the rest of my life. Like, yeah, we have a certain amount of freedom, which comes being from self-employed. I have an ADHD mind. I need to like do all these things because it's fun for me and I love it. But I was like, I want to be able to retire without retiring, pretty much. And I don't want to be a slave to emails for the rest of my life. So I was like, do you want to buy apartments? And he's like, okay, can you tell me more about what that means? And I was like, well, I want to jump 2 feet in and do it. And when he said yes, I was at a conference like a week later and doing it all. So we make decisions pretty quickly in my household. But I would say like that's the short and sweet version of like how the apartments came up because I was like, I want more out of life. I want even more freedom. And then I knew apartments was the way to go.
So how long did it take you from that decision until your first apartment?
Oh God. You want to just jump into the issues that happen or oh my God. I think I'm known at this point to be like really blunt and like, I'll give trust where it's due or respect where it's due until it's gone. I would say. And you meet a lot of people really in any industry that yeah, you just never want to meet. But anyways, yeah. So I would say like I started at a conference, I would say like January 2022. That was my first step, right? Read books, went to all these conferences that year. I underwrote for like 8 months straight. I used Marcus and Millichap a lot, their packets because they're so very complete and very easy to understand and utilize that for my underwriting. And so I just wanted to learn it in and out. I was walking some deals alone. I quickly learned to be more myself because I'm not freaking walking deals in heels anymore. That was like a one and done type of deal. Don't do that as a female. Anyways, so I would say by that fall, I had two deals under contract and going. One was in North Carolina, one was in Georgia, totaling 100 units. We were assuming a Freddie loan for one of them, which I was basically kind of managing the GP group, most of which was newer. One of them was I would say, a veteran in it. But yeah, I really learned how annoying assuming a loan is from my first attempt at that. And so, yeah, those deals didn't go through at the last second. I kind of peeled back some layers. I had a gut feeling. I'm like, there's something wrong here. I trusted and didn't verify what people were doing. I think that was my first mistake, my first hard mistake, right? So we had earnest money in the deal, about over 200,000 between all of us. Two guys in the deal did not. But one of them was like signing our money away. We didn't realize it at one point, and I was just like, okay. I didn't realize that till I looked at the deal, pulled my investors out, and I'm like, there's something that doesn't equal here. Like, I don't like this. I like things to equal. And yeah, last second, I pulled my investors out, not doing the deal. It fell through anyways. And then I have one of those guys on a payment plan. The other guy blocked me indefinitely. And it was, yeah. He again, we had in the email, everybody's liable for equal amount of the risk capital. We all agreed. He went behind his word and he's still trying to do deals in Florida. But I warn people if they ask, but I won't like blatantly throw a name out there unless it's deserving. But that was my first big mistake. I made a second as well, but I can only laugh now because it's funny. But I lost a good chunk of that deal. but my owner's money, not my investors.
Those are good lessons learned. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way in this business, right?
Yeah, you get the excitement. Like I'm pretty good as a business owner. I can make usual logical decisions, right? Like you pride yourself on that as a business owner. And then I was just like, is the excitement of actually getting a deal done? Was that what clouded my judgment? Or was, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was really just trusting and not verifying was that main first one. The second one was not doing like my background check on the guy. So that was that one. But
But you recently just closed one, right?
oh yeah, I have yeah.
Yeah.
So we closed a 76 unit deal in Fort Worth. Definitely love the Fort Worth Dallas. I mean, I love all of DFW. Fort Worth, I really like working with the city a bit. Not a big government fan, but I know that when you have friends with the city, you can get things done faster. And you find the people that are good within the city that will help you with that, right? Like the ones that actually want good people buying, not slumlords, not people that are like can talk a good game, right? But that was a good deal, 76 units. I mean, we're still, I think we closed mid-August. We got occupancy up from 70% to 83, I would say, about this week. And it's kind of a tougher time. If you guys know,
Right.
it's not like prime leasing season, but still getting it done, still making decisions. I'm mostly in charge right now. I mean, I do a little bit the asset management side or oversee that, but I'm mostly in charge of like the rebranding right now. That's my current top task. Um, but yeah, it's going well. I mean, we're on a timeline. We want to be a little bit farther, but I mean, I'm still pretty happy to be within our metrics. You know what I mean?
So it was a lease up play or also
Well,
kind of a
yeah,
value add.
it was actually kind of well, it's a value add deal in general, but it's actually really a good opportunity. The guy's owned it since it was almost built, like I would say 80s. He's in his 80s at this point, and he's owned it since then, and it's just not been managed well. Like it just they kept they took care of the property. Like the property doesn't have such bad maintenance that it's falling apart. Like it's actually pretty good, but like managing it, operations, there's not even a lease manager there. They were at 70% occupied when they didn't have to be. That area with the comps is definitely way over 93% everywhere. So it's like this kind of makes no sense. The area wasn't the best. It's still getting better. James probably knows more than anybody, but it's on its way up, I would say, over there. And the tenants we can easily get over 90% as long as we actually take care of the tenants. It's not that hard when you're actually paying attention. And no fault to that guy. He's just in California, and you have to trust people if you're out of state versus, hey, can you actually go to the property and make sure things are getting done? That's the biggest thing. People have what property management, but they're not asset managing. I think that's one of the biggest faults
Right.
we see these days, right?
Yeah, it was
But yeah, definitely just operation play.
probably on cruise control. He probably didn't have any debt on the property, just
No,
steady cash flow.
yeah. Well, honestly, we got it at seller financing. He's holding the note, and he's
Oh,
making more from us paying him than he was making on the property.
yeah, no hit.
So yeah, so he's happy, and he has another deal close by that we might get maybe quarter one, quarter two. We'll see. I think he wants to bring up the occupancy a bit before we go because we get a discount if he doesn't at that point with how it's running. So and I think we want to see it running a little bit better before we tackle that one. Um, but I mean, it's a good connection to have because he can hold the notes. He just wants to be out of it and make that passive income and not have the headache of it anymore, you know?
Yeah, if you can get seller financing at below market rates, I mean, that's slam dunk in today's market for sure.
Yeah. We got 5.5 for 5 years.
And
Yeah.
it sounds like he's pricing it based on the occupancy, which you should. And
Hmm.
but a lot of sellers aren't trying to do that. They're still trying to ask for
No.
pro forma pricing.
But it's
Well,
mostly
does
the
it?
that are bought in the last few years. They just don't have enough. There's no equity for them to sell at a lower price. The ones that own the deals for a long time, like the guy you bought off, like they have
Right.
a ton of
They're
equity.
good.
They can actually make.
Yeah. Which I think is a whole different ballgame and like different opportunity.
Yeah, you had mentioned underwriting. We first started. I have a number in my head, but how many deals did you underwrite before it started to click?
Oh, Jesus. Well, I was focusing on too many target markets, I think, at first. That was a bigger mistake. I think focusing on my backyard, which is Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth, once I dialed into that was much better, much faster. My rules of thumb really made sense. But I would say about the 6 to 8 month mark, I could really tell a deal based off underwriting pretty quickly. Um, I was even hosting newbie calls, which is kind of funny because I was so new. But it's funny, you go to these conferences and you meet these people that are just starting, and a lot of things go over their head. So I felt like I could explain the new stuff to them even better. So I was just like, yeah, let's just have a call and we'll discuss this. And I even had like some people join in, like lawyers that know SEC rules, like all the really basic stuff we went over. It was kind of interesting. But yeah, underwriting, I think if you don't understand the actual deal or can't look at some underwriting and key metrics and be like, does that make sense? Or if you do have an underwriter, make sure that most of the stuff that they do doesn't make sense half the time, because then you know if it does, it's a good one. I think that's what my guy is now. I have someone that does most of the underwriting. I'm like, you make everything not work, but I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I think that's like
But
the
yes,
skill to have in doing commercial real estate is the underwriting. It just all it is,
yeah.
you just got to get the reps in.
Well, I started with like a guru model that most people started with, but I just like as you get, I think more advanced, you realize, okay, where does this number come from? Why does this not make sense? And I'm like, let me expand on this. So my buddy Jason Williams, he has ironclad underwriting, so he created his own model, and I took his little course, well, his course, I would say it's little, but it's a course where you one-on-one with him and learned his model, and you really can see how each number gets there. But after that, then I have my buddy Quentin, who's less, he makes his own models based on our deals all the time. Like we have this development project going on right now in Austin. He actually built the whole model for it. And it's just so unique to the deal. And you could see how it makes sense. And you're like, hey, how did you get this number? And you can follow it through, which is so ideal because like I don't want to have a gray area when I'm dealing with people's money. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this number shot out of my thing. It must be right. Love that for me. Like, no. But
What
yeah, 6 to 8 months, I think, of actual underwriting and doing that work helped.
what is your buy box? So it sounds like new development's one of them, value add in DFW.
Hmm.
Anything
I mean,
else?
I'm open, but like because okay, rolling it back real quick, like I've done nutrition for over and almost 15 years now, and I think I know less than I knew then, just because when you realize how much info is out there, you're just like, I could never know as much as I need to know. But I think when it comes to like multifamily, you have to realize what your strengths are, right? So for me, um, I realize if I focus on things and I build it up, I'm going to be better than if I try to have myself in too many places. So development is my newest one. Development. I don't know it that well, and I got a couple people into place for that deal that know development because I need to trust that they know that and double check. So with this current deal, I literally have sent it to a couple friends where I'm like, tear it apart and we're going to have a meeting about it. We literally just had a meeting yesterday with one of my buddies who's a veteran in it. And he's like, you know, threw stuff at us because we want to make sure that it works. So like sometimes with value add, I know that the most. And that's what I want to keep. So I would say like I have more opportunities than I have funds, which I think is most people's problem right now. Um, there's a lot of deals happening that way, but definitely value add. I would like over 70 units mostly just because you get better asset management in place with those. I'm not opposed to the smaller deals if they make sense and are local, like I can get there. Um, but pretty much Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, not Houston. I refuse to know Houston. So if you know Houston and you buy there, good luck to you because I can't understand it. The people who live there must understand it because it's so confusing. But yeah, I'm open to Austin, certain places, but right now Dallas Fort Worth is my main hub. Um, and then 70 plus units right now. I'm not going to pretend I can raise over 10 million at the moment, but in time.
It's been challenging to raise equity over the last couple years, especially with interest rates. And then we talk a lot about a lot of people invested in multifamily, and those same investors, their capital is tied up. So before the
Hmm.
deals are selling and they would get 2x, 3x, and then they can go in two or three more deals, but all that equity is just kind of held up right now.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of investors. So we kind of got to generate a new class of investor, I guess.
And I think that's kind of like where my people are because most of my investors are me and my husband are business partners. I don't think I mentioned that, but in all of our businesses we are. And we have most of my clients or my investors are past clients of ours or just from the bodybuilding world, fitness world. And then secondary, it's just from people I meet because I'm honest. really honest, maybe to a fault, and I make way too many inappropriate jokes. But if they like me, they like me. And I'm like, this is the deal. This is transparent. This is what I make. This is what you make. I'm a no bullshitter. So, and I also hire my ex FBI PI agent to private investigator to go through people now because why not? But I think that you have to be really, really transparent now because a lot of investors are realizing like how many people are bullshitters. And
Yeah,
I think that's being more prominent in the multifamily space. Do you see how much stuff is coming out now? It's like, ooh,
there's been a lot of fraud and a lot of bad stuff that's happened. So yeah, can you elaborate on the personal investigator? What kind of
well, I found okay, so I
Is
found
James under
because
investigation?
no, but if we did a deal together, I probably will have him review you. Yes. So like even with the development project, I'm not technically in a GP team with the developer. And honestly, he comes off really well. I have a very good gut. I listened to it and I was just like, he comes off well, but for the investor's sake, I'm going to have the PI report on him just to have it. And the guy was just like, hey, and he's in Austin. I didn't realize that PI guy was in Austin. He's like, hey, we have a mutual friend on Facebook. So far, that's a good thing. I was like, good to know. So and he's an Army vet, so we connected on that. I made a really bad dildo joke within 2 minutes of meeting him, but I felt like it was right, and then we became best friends towards the end. You can edit that out. I'm just kidding, don't. But I think it's just like it's a people game. You have to like talk to people. I think in investors too, the more like you're authentic, the better it comes off. But anyways, FBI guy, I hired him because of a 20 unit I bought in Fort Worth with a guy who is like Ponzi scheme top of the line Ponzi scheme artist. And the more like all the info that came out of this deal, like I became friends with people like that he screwed over that are big players in the DFW world. So I'm like, oh, I guess this is an opportunity that I got screwed over by this guy because we all in the same club. And I literally just sent out a newsletter and I found another guy he screwed over recently. And he's like, hey, are we all going to take class action against this guy? I was like, I don't know, but like I had to spend over 20K in legal fees against him recently to like make him buy me out of the deal, me and my buddy that he screwed over as well. The only reason why I stayed in the deal, that 20 unit, is because my buddy had the risk capital in the deal. And he also had a promissory note that guy didn't ever pay back. And I was like, I'm not going to put any of my investors or my money in this deal. I'll do sweat equity. And we knew he was going to screw us over after we closed. So he did. And we had to go get legal out of it. And I sent all of his information to the PI guy because I wanted to know. I was like, these are all the properties he says he has. This is all of his names or whatever. And the guy came back with like a packet, man. He's like, yeah, this guy isn't great. I was like, I know. He's like, well, out of like the 13 properties you sent me, 3 of them, well, he doesn't have any of them. And 3 of them that he does have tons of liens on them and they're all in distress. Like, yeah, I figured that. And he's living in his construction loan house, which you're not supposed to do. And I guess the developer deal out in Dallas, they had to enact a bad actor clause on him. They had to spend like 300K to get him out. But get this is the best part. So I like, again, liking things to equal. I was like, let's reconcile the pre deal financials. This is before everything started. He's like, okay. I was like, I need you to send me your, bank statements so I can do this. He's like, okay. And the reason why he didn't want me to use the law firm I used is because he had an outstanding balance with them, and I didn't know that. And he sent me an Excel sheet he made for the pre-financials with all these random shit on it. I'm like, and that old fee that he owed them, he put on this deal, which isn't correct. I was like, this isn't going to work, buddy. I need your bank statements, and you can't use this, 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 and this, and this on this deal. And he fought me tooth and nail. This was the first start of it. And I recorded a lot of these conversations, obviously. So I'm like, okay. And he still owed the deal 15K after all that. And he was fighting tooth and nail. When I went through his records, he's not making any money or at least into this LLC. I think he borrows from his wife's stuff or something like that, her retirement. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, basically what I've noticed is he borrows from somebody to pay somebody else back. And I don't even think his investors understand whatever investors he has understands what he's doing. But those are the type of people I'm like, holy shit. Like if I did the PI for anything, I would be like, you're out. Like, please leave. I used to host meetups. And right after all this went down, I hired a cop to come in and be like, make sure this guy doesn't show up. Because I don't want anybody doing business with him because that's like you have to have such a lack of integrity and morals, like an outstanding lack to do that to people, right? Like this
Yeah.
isn't a short game of trying to steal, steal, steal. This is a long game of building your reputation and doing what's right. You know, you can run an apartment lean, but you don't have to be a dick. That's pretty much what I always tell people. But yeah, it
I
was a mess.
wonder if you said there was a kind of a network of people that had the same experience. I wonder if there's a way to just vet people through just a group, right? Like, hey guys, you know, has anyone worked with this group before, et cetera?
I feel like, I mean, again, it's all, people will try to throw legal at your face every which way on this stuff, right? Because that's just how people are when they're um, faced with that. Um, I think through all the networking and stuff, the good people are starting to stick together a bit more. Like we know who is good, who's bad for the most part, and like we're really building that community. I don't think it's a set community yet, but we're definitely like if someone comes to me, I'm going to be honest with what I know. I'm not going to if someone comes to me with like a rumor, I'm not going to really like tell them that, but I'm going to be like my experience is this. Um and so I just think that's how it kind of gets around. It's like it's a smaller community than people think. You know what I mean? And I think the more we discuss, the more that we are vulnerable and open with it, I think the more we find those good people that we want to do business with. Because this guy lost all of his money to this guy, and he's like, "Hey, when you have another deal, let me know. I'd love to invest with you." I'm like, "You still want to invest in multifamily? Like, you just?" He's like, "I was just like, okay, like I'm here for you. Like, thank you." But like, I think that's why just being so transparent and authentic is what's gonna really make those partnerships work versus really just trying to have that fake ego and bullshit. You know what I mean?
You're
Yeah,
right. It's a very small community, and even in the broker community that I'm in, like everybody talks, everybody knows everybody that's doing deals, and so you get found out pretty quick if you're a bad actor.
Yeah. I mean, but you still see some people fall through the cracks somehow. I mean,
Yeah,
not in necessarily Ponzi guys, but
yeah.
bad operators.
They always find a way. They get banned from one lender, they go to the next lender. Like, yeah,
Oh, and that should have been a red flag. Like the guy like couldn't even get like regular lending. Like, and he was supposed to be like, we're like, why is he going to Capital One Fund, which they don't even care what you make? Like, like that's the only people. And then, you know, we were getting turned left or right. There's certain things I can't say just because we're still in that that thing. But I was just like, wow, this all is making sense. But I think it's like you listen to your gut, you just do your due diligence, you're fine. If someone wants to see my stuff, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like here. I'm gonna be so open because again, you're marrying these people with a deal. You're responsible for your own investors' money, their investors' money. Um, and you're constantly leaning on each other to get shit done. Like it needs to be a trust to an extent, you know?
for
yeah.
sure.
So we got time for maybe one more question, but before we wrap up, how can viewers or listeners get in touch with you?
If they want to see everything I'm doing, TuttleBrands.com. I made a landing page because, again, I have way too many things happening on purpose. I'm sorry, but this is who I am. But yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all Alexia Tuttle, either Alexia Tuttle one. Just look up my name. There's not many Alexia Tuttles in Fort Worth, and you will find me. But TuttleBrands.com, TuttleEquity.com, TuttleNutrition.com. Also, drink more, MOR.com. Am
Wow.
I really that predictable? Yeah, I'm not predictable, but that's fine.
Any final any final thoughts?
Yeah,
For
no,
Joe or for me?
it was wonderful having you on, and we're excited to follow your progress and tell us, keep us informed on your goals and what you're trying to do next, because we would love to hear and love to
Yeah,
have you back
awesome.
on.
Yeah.